Welcome to A Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Courser. Ron Courser and Associates are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program, ladies and gentlemen. This is Your Course to Retirement, brought to you by the team from Ron Courser and Associates, and of course, Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner, your CFP resource, Ron Courser. Ron, welcome into the program.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, someday here on Sunday, Peter. Nice to see you. Here it is, summertime, a lot of stuff going on. You know, we're all kind of in the same boat, although I'm not sure it's a good boat some days, but things are changing and they seem to change and then they stay the same. But one of the things that is always on everybody's mind is, number one, can I retire? Number two, when can I retire? Number three, am I going to be okay in retirement? So we're going to touch on probably the third one there. Am I going to be okay in retirement? What I mean by that, Kiplinger put out a really neat article, and the article is kind of phrased in a negative way. 14 reasons why you might go broke in retirement. Those are the kind of things that get clicks and get people's attention. And obviously the article got my attention, so it must work. So one of the things we're going to do here today is we're going to touch on some of these points. So I don't know if we'll get to all 14 of them, but we're certainly going to try, and we'll go through them one by one. And one of the things that we have to remember is baby boomers are retiring. They still continue to retire 10,000 a day for the next 10 years or so. And a lot of things that happen when we get close to retirement, I've seen it with my own clients as they get close to retirement. The sense that everything was going to be okay as they get close to retirement, there's a little bit of uncertainty that comes in, and that's very normal. It doesn't matter how much planning you've done. It's pretty normal when you get close to that time to say, oh my goodness, is this the right decision? Is it the wrong decision? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to be all right? It's normal. And so I tell people, let's face the fear. I would say, you know, you're very normal if you have that kind of concern. So one of the things that does concern everybody is, hey, I don't want to wind up broke in retirement. And I look at people and I agree with them. It's not a good plan. It's not a good strategy. So what we're going to talk about really is the things that you might consider before getting into retirement, or if you're there soon, you know, maybe take a second look at what your assumptions are about retirement. But I think this will be a positive kind of a day with us here on today's show.
Well, Ron, if you can identify a problem early, you can take steps to address or solve for it, right? So if we understand these 14 reasons why we might go broke in retirement, maybe we can take steps to address some of these issues. You always talk about the outcome is so often determined by the level of control that we take over the variables that may affect us. I assume that many of these 14 reasons are some of those variables that we need to address.
They are. And one of the things that's high priority for everybody right now is this market volatility, particularly with the COVID thing. It's caused people to say, wow, do I even want to be in the market? Should I have something in the market? What do I do? And when the world was coming to an end in March and the markets went down 31% in 22 days, we advised our clients to make some rebalancing changes in their portfolio. Why? Number one, we didn't know how far down was because we never shut the economy down like we had before. And number two, we simply didn't understand what the government would or wouldn't do. Now, obviously, in retrospect, it would have been great to say, guess what? We knew the government was going to throw about $6 trillion at this problem, and we could have just stayed there and been fine and dandy. But it's important to remember that the market still isn't back to where it was in its high on February 18th. So there's a lot of volatility that creates uncertainty. One of the things that just as a very kind of basic understanding, let's assume that no matter what's going on here in 2020 with the COVID thing, that you're going to have a retirement. Those of you who are thinking about it, already in it, you're going to have retirement the last 20 to 35 years. So one of the most important things to plan on is to say, I have to have some growth in my portfolio. Now, if you have enough money, and we've talked about, Peter, that $10 million that you have that's squirreled away somewhere.
Sure.
You know, if you're living on $12,000 a year and you got $10 million, you can put it all in a 3-pound coffee can, bury it in the backyard. You're going to be fine. But what's the risk if you bury it in the backyard? That you could get some sort of dementia issue and forget where you buried it. It's a total loss. So the point of all this is to say there's no perfect solution. What we try to do is create a plan, if you will, of looking at different things where we can maximize the potential that you have to being successful in retirement and minimize the downside. So when it comes to holding stocks in your portfolio, you have to have some way that your life savings can grow over time if you're going to be retired for 25 years. So some people say, well, I don't want to do anything with stocks. I can understand that when the market's going down 31% in March, but on a long-term basis, it's not a good idea. We need some growth function in there, some way to do that. And having stocks in a portfolio, you can call it a necessary evil or you can call it a good thing, depending on how you look at it and the kind of help you're getting from your advisor.
But the equity markets, Ron, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, the appropriate allocation and mix of those have historically produced results where we can achieve growth over and above the rate of inflation and therefore at least preserve and increase our purchasing power. That is the thought behind that. It's easy to get too conservative when we see market volatility. So here, the number one reason why we might run out of money in retirement is that we stay too conservative over time, that we get scared, we get apprehensive, we get out of the market completely, and then we miss out on what could be potential growth into the future. And I know that as we age, Ron, as we get closer to retirement, as we move through retirement, we've always been told the historical traditional approach has been to get more conservative, but it has not been to abandon the stock market and the potential growth that are associated with equities altogether.
It really isn't. And it's different for everybody. There's no right answer. There's no answer that says, I've read some articles and some advisors saying you have to be fully invested in the market because over the next 30 years, that gives you the best chance to survive and to prosper. And to some extent, there's truth there, but it's not such a good idea if all of your money is exposed to the market and you take a 35% loss. You don't have any recovery time left. And maybe you're still using that life savings that just had the loss to generate income. So it's different from everybody. There's no rule of thumb, so to speak. It gets down to what are you comfortable with, but what makes sense for your plan. And see, we always get back on this program to do you have a plan? If you have an income plan, and that's the plan I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, well, I'm going to invest in tech stocks and win the world. When you have an income plan, that tells you the kinds of things, the kinds of risk you need to take to generate the income over time that you need to maintain your lifestyle. How much money do I need coming in every month? So that income plan is really the basis of your investment plan. What do I mean by that? Let's pretend in your world, Peter, you need, with the different kinds of investments, the things out there, you're generating enough income to maintain your lifestyle, because that's the key of an income plan, by only having 40% of all your money in the market. So if that's the minimum amount of risk you should take to get what you want, the question becomes, why would you want to take more risk, knowing that by taking more risk, you're also subjecting yourself to more downside options? Why would you want to take more risk than's necessary to achieve your goal?
Yeah.
And that's why having the income plan is important, because it's much different from saying, well, I want to get a 7.5% rate of return over my investments for the rest of my life. You may or may not get that. You don't have control over that. You have control over the plan, and you have control over how much risk you want to put into your plan and into your life.
Well, and in that spirit, Ron, kind of covering both ends of the spectrum here, the Kiplinger article on 14 reasons why you may run out of money in retirement, why you may go broke in retirement. Number two, swings to the other side of the spectrum and saying you invest too much in stocks. And I think this is to your point that you just made here, is if we only have to take a minimal amount of risk in order to meet all of our goals, then why are many out there led to believe we need to take as much risk as necessary?
That's a good answer to a good question, to a good answer that I don't have. I know what we do in our practice with our clients. It's always, let's get that income plan put together so we understand the kinds of risk we kind of need to take on to deal with, and then
Well,
balance them against safety.
and I think that would be the answer, is that we don't have the guiding principle of that income plan. We've talked, Ron, that this is the missing component to so many people's retirement projections and outlooks and illustrations and assumptions. They don't have the actual plan laid out concretely, which tells them that mix.
It is true. And I know the most satisfied folks we have in retirement when it comes to helping our clients are those that understand the minimum amount of risk they need to take, and they're very comfortable with that. I've never run into somebody that says, I'm 65 years old, I'm going to retire. I'm going to shoot the moon on my retirement plan, because I was reading a book and it said the market is always the best place to be. And I'm not discounting that. It just gets back to how much risk do you really want to bring into your life to achieve your goal?
And again, if you need help in assessing that and defining that and reviewing that, in making sure that your need for the appropriate level of risk, your tolerance for risk, is reflected in and aligns with the risks that you're actually taking in your portfolio. If you'd like to have that guiding principle of the specific retirement income plan to help you arrive at that and quantify it, pick up the phone and give certified financial planner and Grand Rapids resource Ron Courser a call. He is the resource for savers, investors, workers, retirees, pre-retirees. If you're taking your planning and your financial future seriously, he does offer the education on this program, this food for thought, and a general discussion. But taking that a step further, the true value here is the availability, the benefit of a personal individual consultation. There is no downside for placing that call. There is no cost or obligation for that review and strategy session. There is never any benefit for procrastinating, and there is no need to meet in person to get that process started. You can get direct answers to specific questions over the phone, or for that comprehensive review, looking over the total situation. You can have that retirement review and strategy session either in person or through the ease and convenience and safety of technology. Just give a call to get started. 616-301-2594. That is 616-301-2594. 616-301-2594. And Ron, one of the big steps in that retirement review and strategy session is trying to identify reasons why people might fail in retirement. As we are talking about, this Kiplinger article today also spots and identifies, but you're there to help solve the problems. This is just identifying them.
Yeah, let's rephrase this whole program and say, here's how to survive whatever's coming down the road and prosper, no matter what. So one of the other things that people worry about, and I guess you can consider it a mistake, is not planning for a long retirement plan, a long lifestyle. I suppose if you're only planning for 10 years and you got your $10 million, Peter, you're going to be okay spending $1 million a year. Then I don't know what we're going to do with you if you're still alive after 10 years. You come live with me. We got an extra bedroom you can share with, your family and stuff. But it really is an interesting thing. You can phrase the question and say, what if I live too long? I don't like that question. I want to live a long time. I joke with people, it's serious. I pray to live to be 100. But I also pray to God that I will know that I'm 100. Because why would you want to live to be 100 if you don't know it? To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I look at it and say, let's just assume that you're going to live for a while, maybe longer than you planned. Wouldn't it be a nice idea to have money that you can access for as long as you live? And that's the real way to look at it. I want to make sure that I always have income no matter how long I live. And that requires a good plan. And what it also requires is to take a look at all the different kinds of things that you can use in your income plan to generate income. Because remember, we always talk about it. The question isn't how far will my lump sum go? How far will my $500,000 go? Or how far will my $1 million go? That's not the right question. The right question is, do I have enough income in retirement to retire? It doesn't matter how big the lump sum is. Do you have enough income coming in? And one of the key components, perhaps, is to generate income from what are considered to be income-producing types of accounts. It can be utility stocks that generate high dividend rate, big dividend payers. The difficulty with that over time is that sometimes dividends change, particularly when we run into a COVID-19 economic crisis like we have. There can be changes there.
Any downturn, a lot of times dividends get affected.
Yeah, GE is a great example. Before the great collapse in 2008, every retiree had GE in their portfolio because it just kept paying dividends on an increasing basis. 2008 and 9 happened, they stopped the dividend payment, and it's been on again, off again, and they're not the stock that they used to be. So it's important when creating an income plan saying, let's take a look at all the different ways I can create income. It also used to be 25 years ago that putting money in a CD was a great way to generate income. That's probably not the best approach to take or the most efficient approach to take in these worlds today. So one of the things that somebody might want to consider, and I always just say you might want to consider it, just give it a thought, is what kind of accounts can produce guaranteed income over time? Well, you have one in Social Security. If you have a pension, that's another one. Even though, yeah, you can argue that both Social Security and pension plans are under a lot of pressure. They absolutely are. I agree with that. But they're the closest thing to guaranteed income as we're ever going to get in our life. So maybe if you don't have a pension, or maybe even if you do, but you want to really cement your income coming in, maybe one of the things you ought to take a look at is an annuity. Now, I know people's heads are probably exploding right now because they heard the annuities are bad and they're terrible and all that. But here's my point of view. Annuities do something very well. They do. And they do some things terribly. So why don't you take a look at it and say, what does it do really well? Annuities, whether they're variable or fixed, which is a principal protected kind of annuity, they can generate lifetime income that you can't outlive. So why not take a look at that? Don't just say, well, I heard they're bad, or I don't want it, or things like that. It's a way to look at it and saying, I want the very best income plan I can make, that I can create. And I don't want to have to worry every month of, do I have enough income coming in this month, or do I have to, because the market went down and I don't have as much in stocks as I used to have. Maybe I got to cut my income back for a while. Nobody wants to do that. So that's why you take a look in the beginning of all the different places you can get income and try to make it as solid through thick and thin as you can. And an annuity, particularly a principal protected fixed annuity, may be something to look at. I'm not saying it's right for anybody, but I personally own them, and I do it for one big reason. One of these days I may retire. I don't know, I may not, but I want predictable income. And that's what it does. So one of the things to do about saying, I don't know this leave it too long idea. No, you want to make sure your income lasts a long, long time. So don't discount anything when it comes to the planning process. Ultimately, you'll do whatever is right for you and whatever fits you, but just don't discount out of hand things that might be of help to you.
Well, I believe it was Mickey Mantle who said, if I had known I was going to live this long, I would have treated myself better. And as we talk about 14 reasons why we might go broke in retirement, and this one is the mistake, air quotes there, the mistake of living too long. We don't want that to be a mistake. And perhaps a lot of people would say, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have guaranteed more income for myself. And we should be learning from that and guaranteeing as much income as we need or as possible.
That gets to a lot of things that I could say in my life. If I knew that was going to happen, I probably might not have done it. But then I always look back and say, there's a part of me that says I still may have done it, even though I knew it was stupid at the time, because it just seemed like the right thing to do. But that doesn't work too well when it comes to income planning and retirement.
Absolutely. Well, again, if you want help to define that income plan, if you want to look at what sources, what options, what structure of the plan and tools and products are available to help you supplement that income and guarantee as much lifetime income as possible, pick up the phone, give certified financial planner Ron Courser a call. He can help to make sure that you don't end up going broke in retirement, as we are discussing this Kiplinger article of the 14 reasons why you might go broke in retirement. All of these are things that we want to avoid, obviously, and certified financial planner Ron Courser can help pinpoint, spot, identify, and solve for these issues in your personal plan. Pick up the phone and give a call for that complimentary review, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. Ron, the next one on this list, I feel like this is the easiest one for us to potentially fall victim to, and really no one to blame but ourselves here, going into our later years, kicking ourselves because we simply spent too much.
Yeah, that's Spending too much is an issue. How do we know how much there is? How much is too much? Well, we don't know at the time we're doing it. We only realize it after the fact. That's why it's important to understand income in streams of income. I learned a long time ago in the military that whenever you're going about your business, it's always important to have plan B or C or D or E, not just have one approach to that, whatever it is you're trying to do out there in the bush. And it's the same thing with retirement planning. It's important to have more than one source of income. It really is. If you think about it, everybody's going to have at least one source, and that's Social Security. So here's a key question. Can you live on Social Security? Most people will answer that, no, I need something more. Okay, that means you need more than one stream of income coming in. And I tell folks, generally, if you can get 4, you've got a pretty good income plan coming in at you. So that would be Social Security would be 1. You can create a pension or not have a pension. That would be 2. Taking money out of retirement plans, IRAs, things like that, required minimum distributions, 3. What would be a 4th one? Maybe you want to work a little bit part-time while you're still healthy and can do it. But the more options you have, the more places you can generate income, the stronger your retirement plan is, because one of those sources may let you down. You never know what's going to happen. So I talk about those, and here's the key, and it goes back to this other conversation we had just a few minutes ago. If you don't have a pension plan, ladies and gentlemen, work with an advisor who will help you create one for yourself, sort of a private plan that'll give you guaranteed income on top of it. And that's the real key to survival and retirement. And it's also the real key to make sure you don't spend too much. Because if all your money's in one place, and I've seen this happen with people that we've taken on as new clients after they've retired, if all their retirement money is based on one plan, one source of income, they generally have more stress. They generally see the potential for higher rates of failure than people who have multiple sources of income coming in from different sources. So that's really important. I tell people too, one of the things that I've learned in this business in 26 years is that no matter how good the plan is, you're going to spend more in the first 2 or 3 years of retirement. Why? Because you have more opportunity to do cool stuff. Yeah, you can spoil the grandkids, you can take trips, you can do all kinds of wonderful things. And so what we do when we build income plans for our clients, we put in a little extra buffer. If you want $5,000, let's see if we can pick up a plan that's $6,000 a month, because I know you're going to spend more. I've seen it. Everybody does. It's very normal. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty. Enjoy it, because God's given you that time to enjoy the resources. So go ahead and do it. But it's also part of a good plan. And it's what you do to make sure that you don't go, oh my goodness, one day, what have I done?
Yeah, well, we need to define that. We need to understand that, especially those first several years of retirement, every day does feel like a vacation, and we've got those items on the bucket list that we want to achieve and accomplish, and make hay while the sun's shining, so to speak. But you got to have a plan so that you don't overspend in those first several years and drastically impact negatively the last several years of retirement. We don't want to overspend early on. Again, talking about this Kiplinger article, 14 reasons why you may go broke in retirement, and along with certified financial planner Ron Courser, finding solutions, discussing how to address each and every one of these reasons. Pick up the phone, give a call, because your opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that you do not fall victim to any of these mistakes is to sit down with the help of a certified financial planner and map out specifically that retirement income plan. Ron Courser willing to do that with you. 616-301-2594, the number to call. That is 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. Ron, at your office in the practice there at Ron Courser and Associates, you have a number of different associates there that specialize in different aspects of retirement. I know your wife Nancy does the healthcare, the Medicare, helping people through that process. Your associates, junior planner Nolan Gosley, he can help people as well as yourself in structuring that retirement income plan, making the most of Social Security. So many decisions go into this, but we don't need to overcomplicate it. And really, we can't afford to make mistakes. Letting the team of experts, those experienced souls that you have in your office there, help us and address some of the mistakes that we could make really can pay off in measurable benefit throughout retirement, and avoiding some of these reasons why some folks unfortunately run out of money and go broke.
Yeah, and keep in mind, try to be positive about this. What we're really talking about is things you need to talk about when you're dealing with your advisor. And if you want us to be advisor, we'll deal with them. When you're getting close to that retirement time and you're creating the plan, these are the things you talk about. If these are some of the things that are new to you when you're getting close to retirement out there in radio land, and you haven't had this kind of a discussion with your advisor, give us a call. I'd be more than happy to chat with you. Call me at 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. We can be a real helpful resource. It's what we do. I mean, the reason I still keep doing this is because I like doing it. It's kind of a passion. You know, we live in crazy times. This is crazyville some days. And most people are concerned about, how am I going to make it not only through, the rest of my life, but how am I going to get past this week? I mean, that's some of the things going on out there. So we can help bring a little peace and quiet and peace of mind to people with the way we're thorough. And see, that's the key, being thorough. It's not trying to scare people, saying, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to die. If you don't do this, you're going to end up, and broke and stuff. It's no, these are the things we need to touch base on, so that when you leave our office with your plan, there's nothing that when you get in the car and you're talking to your spouse, oh, we forgot to talk about this. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. It's that thorough.
Very
And
thorough.
the more thorough we can be, we're willing to put in the time. And if you're willing to put in the time, give us a call at 616-301-2594. We'd be more than happy to help you. And that's what we do.
Ron Courser and Associates, Grand Rapids resource for savers and investors, those planning carefully for their financial futures. Pick up the phone, give Ron Courser a call, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. All the time that we have for right now, but quick break, and we will talk to you again in just a few moments. And we're back here on your course to retirement, Grand Rapids, your resource for that common sense approach to planning for our financial futures that is so desperately needed. And our resource here on the program, as always, is the president and founder of Ron Courser and Associates, certified financial planner, Ron Courser. And today we are reviewing this recent article from Kiplinger's. It's the 14 reasons you might go broke in retirement. Obviously not a fate that anyone desires, something that we all want to avoid. Ron Courser and his team have spent years helping savers and investors avoid these 14 reasons, and they can help you too. If you've got any questions or concerns, a reminder, they do make their time available to you. Pick up the phone and give them a call, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. Ron, making it through the list here, making progress. Relying on a single source of income might be a reason why people go broke. And you touched on this a little bit. Social Security is probably not going to cover everything we need.
No, it's not. And probably if you're blessed with a pension, it may not also. One of the things that sometimes people plan on doing in some fashion, in a general way, when I talk with them, they say, well, I think can I get some kind of part-time work doing something? Part to just stay active, and part because every dollar you earn in retirement is one less dollar you have to take out of one of your 401k or IRA accounts. And I encourage people to do that. And it was before this COVID-19 thing, we used to endorse going to work for one of the car rental companies because they always needed guys to get a cup of coffee and a donut and drive a car from here to there and come back and all that. And it was easy work. Car companies that rent cars now are not doing well. So that's a source of potential part-time work that's dried up. But the other part that happens, and this can be probably more apt to happen in the world we're in right now, where we have a lot of economic disruption, is people lose their jobs before they're ready to retire. So a lot of times people say, well, I'm going to work until 65 and by then I should be okay. And even at times when we plan a retirement plan for somebody, we do income planning for people who aren't retired. I do it for this reason. And the premise is really simple. Let's pretend that your last day of work is this Friday. Based on what you have now, can we develop an income plan that will give you the income you need to maintain your cost of living, to maintain the kind of living you're doing right now, your lifestyle? Let's don't plan on, well, we can work another 5 years. Let's pretend we can't work past this Friday. Why do I do that? I tell people there's only two outcomes to this, and both of them are good. Number one, right now, if you don't have enough income based on this, I'm going to retire on Friday, that means we need to do a little more work. Maybe we need to save more. Maybe we need to spend less. There's something we can do because we apparently have time. On the other hand, the good news is that if you're okay today, you don't have to be as fearful for the future. We've had several clients now that their former employers have said, we love you a lot, but you can't come back. That has absolutely turned upside down the whole plan. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years from retirement or 5 days. If you know the answers to both of them, if I don't work as long as I'm planning to, am I going to be okay or not okay? Those answers are great to know, because by knowing, if you know the truth, it'll set you free. If you understand this, you won't worry as much. And I tell you, right now, people are worrying a lot because of what's going on, not just about their money, but a whole bunch of other things. So you can plan on working, but what happens even if you got a good part-time job and something happens to you physically and you can't work? You know, what are you going to do? It's a change. So it's really important to keep addressing these what ifs in life, the what ifs, the what ifs. I know sometimes people get a little frustrated with those what ifs, but if you want some help with these what ifs, because they're really important, give us a call at 616-301-2594. We will help you with the what ifs in life so that you don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, I never thought of it.
Yeah, well, I think the what ifs are maybe what drives us a little crazy, makes us anxious, churn in the back of our mind. Stress, Ron, does shorten lifetimes and makes what we have less enjoyable. So if we can have that plan in place to address those what ifs, to identify them early and say, hey, we've got that covered. We've done that. We've addressed it. We've got that in the planning. Then we can live a more confident, worry-free lifestyle in retirement. And that's what I think we're all shooting for. That's what we hope for. That's what we dream about retirement being for us. And again, the help of a certified financial planner pays off in multiple measurable benefits in having that, ladies and gentlemen. Get the time and attention to your plan of the perspective of a qualified professional with that fiduciary responsibility, putting your goals as the top priority and making sure that you've got that plan in place that addresses the key risks and identifies the key opportunities to leverage each and every dollar. Give Ron Courser a call, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594, 616-301-2594. And as we continue on with this list, Ron, from Kiplinger, the 14 reasons why you might go broke in retirement, all of these are things that we try to identify as early as possible and address and solve for. This next one's a difficult one. We can do all of the right things, but nobody is guaranteed. We can exercise, we can eat correctly, but we still potentially can get sick at some point in time. From a financial standpoint, that is something that you try to encourage people to address ahead of time. Just like we prepare with the physical fitness, just like we try to prepare with the diet and the exercise routine, financially, there's another side to that we really need to take some time in addressing and planning and preparing for.
Yeah, it's one of the more uncomfortable ones, because you do have to plan in a way that says, what if I get sick? What if the thing that I'm really afraid about starts to happen in my life? So let's back up and say, okay, somebody's getting ready to retire and they're not 65 years old. We're able to help them pick out a good healthcare plan, if you will, if they don't have other options available to them. And it's important to have a good healthcare plan. Is it expensive? Yeah, healthcare has become incredibly expensive ever since we made it cheap. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's important to do that. When you get to be 65, you get to be a Medicare recipient. And my wife, Nancy, does great work with people, helping both in the pre-65 and 65 and older to the Medicare stuff. We as a firm think it's absolutely critically important that that's part of the plan. What's the right healthcare program for you? What's the right plan for you? When it comes to the Medicare issues, she can deal with the Advantage plans, with the Part B, the Medigap, and all of that. With the drug program, it's a little more complicated than people understand. She's really good at it. We think it's critically important. Why? Because there's been estimates that when you get to be 65, even if you're on Medicare, you and your wife or your husband, you better be prepared somehow, some way to spend another 120 to as much as $200,000 in healthcare costs. That's not including long-term care. So it's a cost that has to go into the budget. And we all know that the cost of healthcare are going up. They go up every year, no matter what the politicians tell us and what they promise it, healthcare goes up every year. So it's one of those incredibly important things to deal with when it comes to creating your plan. Why? Because the wrong healthcare plan, or the one that's most inappropriate for you, and something happens to you, can devastate you for the rest of your life financially. You know, I've seen people that are willing to take a chance in a 3-month window before they get to be in retirement on Medicare, and they're actually considering, well, nothing's going to happen to me, and it's like my eyes get big, my heart starts to jump. I say, no, we got to get some short-term coverage for you. You can't have that.
Murphy's Law kicks in at exactly the wrong
it's
time.
Murphy's Law,
Yeah.
but it actually, with healthcare, it's O'Toole's Law. Have you ever heard of O'Toole's Law?
O'Toole.
Murphy's Law, well, it's up. O'Toole's Law says Murphy's Law is optimistic. So when it comes to healthcare, we plan for O'Toole.
Yeah.
You know, the other stuff we can plan for Murphy. Either one of those guys are not so welcome in our lives. But it's important to understand that. It's important to understand there's a cost to everything. And I have no idea when Medicare becomes free for all, what it's going to be like. But it's one of the key issues we face in our life. First and foremost, because of finances. And secondly, because a healthcare situation can really not destroy our retirement plan, but it can really throw some cold water on it. You know, I think of myself sometimes. I've had 2 major back surgeries, and I got another one coming up here shortly. Not supposedly too major, they tell me. You know, 50, 60 years ago, I'd be curled up in a vet's home somewhere, you know, drooling, eating cookies, because I couldn't have the health care that I have now. But I'm not capable of jogging anymore. I've given up scuba diving because of what's going on with me. So it's changed my lifestyle. And that's what a healthcare issue can do. But it's always good to make sure, no matter what the healthcare issue, that you have a plan in place to pay for it. Yes, it may cost you a little bit in premiums, but man, you don't want to have a $25,000 to $55,000 healthcare bill hit you. It's going to be terrible. So it's a key thing to look at. When it comes to long-term care, everybody starts to put their hands up like the vampire's coming. It's an important conversation to have, because 1 out of 3 people probably going to need some sort of custodial care. I will probably need some if I get to be 100. I'm quite sure of that. We've made a plan for that. But it's another piece of the planning process. It doesn't necessarily mean that you buy a policy at first, or it doesn't necessarily, but it means that here's the key. There's some questions that start with the letter W that you simply must answer. The first question in dealing with this whole healthcare issue going into retirement, talking about long-term care, the first W is when I need care, not if, but when I need care. Second W, where am I going to get that care? Third W, who is going to provide the care? Only after you've answered those 3 questions, and they're part of a really serious long-term care plan, just having answers to those 3 questions, then you may want to look at, how am I going to finance it? Because you will finance it. You're either going to, if a long-term care situation happens, you're either going to spend a bunch of your money before you get qualified for Medicaid, or you're going to go broke trying to figure out how to handle it. So it's not something you can avoid, but at least those 3 W's form the basis of a plan. Again, when I need care, where am I going to get it? Who's going to give it to me? my son's wife is a doctor. They live in Columbus, Ohio. She's given me some doctorly advice with some of my aches and pains. They're not going to quit their job and come back here to Grand Rapids, Michigan to take care of dad. And frankly, I don't want them to, because I just, I'm just knuckleheaded enough to say I can handle this on my own. But I don't want that to do. So there's a lot that go into this. Let us help you plan on it. We don't hide things from clients. We don't, go brush them over easy and say, oh, that's something you don't have to worry about. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it until it happens. So we want to deal with it now up front.
Well, again, if you would like to address this key critical issue, pick up the phone, give Ron Courser and Associates a call, 616-301-2594. If you cannot confidently say that you have an answer for how you will address those three critical questions, you need to speak with somebody. Ron Courser here is your resource. 616-301-2594. 616-301-2594. We continue reviewing this article from Kiplinger, 14 Reasons You Might Go Broke in Retirement, and we do so that you can be enlightened to these reasons and hopefully formulate your plan for how to address them and eliminate them as potentially affecting your retirement. The next one, I really like the visual on this one in the article, Ron. It's got a guy with the hammer hidden behind his back and then the piggy bank unsuspectingly over there, not knowing what's about to happen, but tapping into the wrong accounts. Tapping into the wrong accounts, potentially a reason why we could risk going broke in retirement.
Yeah, it's really true. And that's why, if you only have one account, there's no wrong account to tap into. It is what it is. But let's take a look at this from maybe a 10,000 foot view. The more different places you can draw income from, the more opportunity you have to make the right decisions related to taxes and maximizing your retirement income. What do I mean by that? If all of your money is in one place, an IRA, that's the only thing you have, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, whenever you take $1 out of that, you're going to get taxed on it. Boom. So if you need $1,000, you're going to have to take out more to pay the feds. And don't forget state taxes. So in the state of Michigan, maybe you can take 15% out of your IRA, pay the federal government, but then there's that 4.25% with the state government. So you're looking at about 20%. That means if you need $1,000, you probably need to take out about $1,200 just to get what you need. So it's important to understand if you have different kinds of accounts, and one of the important accounts to start creating now for everybody, I really believe this, is a Roth account. And you can do that one of two ways or both ways. If you're blessed to work for an employer who has a 401k Roth account, we always encourage our clients to put their elective portion into that. Yes, you're going to pay more in tax because it's not going to be tax deferred. But the question always gets, 10 years from now, you're still alive and prosperous, Peter. Do you think what you pay in tax, federal, state, local, will be about the same as it is today, lower than it is today, or higher than it is today?
I think without a doubt, certainly higher. And in addition to that, Ron, I just find that it's easier to pay a bill out of your paycheck while you're earning it than try to account for that bill out of your retirement nest egg. And I think that this goes right into the next one on this list, is not considering the tax and the taxable consequences of the accounts that we're pulling from.
It really is. I tell you, we have clients, we really emphasize the Roth account as a basic planning step from day one. And when we get into the planning part, and I'm using the whiteboard to diagram some things because I'm Hungarian and I seem to talk with my hands too much and I have to control that. But when you think about it, let's pretend you need $5,000 a month to live on to maintain your lifestyle. And all of your money is in an IRA account. All right. Be prepared to take out $5,600 to $6,000 a month to subsidize your lifestyle. But what if you had a Roth account? And now you're starting to take Social Security. Well, your Social Security can become taxed. Up to 85% of it can be included in taxable income. But money taken out of a Roth account has already been taxed. It's never going to be taxed again. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to take a look and say, you know what? I need $5,000 this month to do something. And I have options. I can take it out of my IRA or 401k. I can take it out of my Roth account. Or if I have a pretty solid emergency fund, I can take it out of there. What makes the most sense from a tax perspective? And that's a really key question to ask. What's the most sense from a tax perspective? So if you have more than one place where you're storing up your life savings and you have Roth accounts, cash in the bank, you can minimize potentially what you pay in income tax, federal, state, and local, if you can draw from different accounts that have different tax consequences to them. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It gives you choices and options, and therefore better control over ultimately, Ron, what we do with our money. I mean, there is some advantage to tax deferral, right? It's not all
Yes.
bad, but Albert Einstein said that the most powerful force on the planet was the power of compounding interest. And I feel like the IRS was listening to that message when they first started allowing us to defer and delay paying the taxes on those retirement accounts.
Yeah, and I want to tell people right now we're in the lowest tax environment where we're going to be the rest of our life. And I think if we look at what the government's done, you know, in this most recent quarter, they spent $6 trillion either directly or indirectly, and they're going to spend more. At some point in time, the tax bill on those expenditures comes due, and who are they going to get it from? You know, we can talk about we're just going to tax the rich. And what I tell people when I do college plans and programs and things like that, I say, you know what? Let's take the top 1%ers, the basketball players, you know, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all these Hollywood stars. If we just take their money, forget about taxing it, just take their money. We don't have enough money to run this country for 1 year. So I think it's a bit, you do yourself a disservice, let me put it that way, if you believe that over time what we pay in tax is going to go down, even if our income goes down.
Yeah. Can't just be the rich that pay all of the taxes. It's unaffordable even if we took everything that they had. The bill on this country's operation takes the middle class, takes taxing
It
all
always
of
does.
us. All of
It
us.
always does. And the big money in America is not with the wealthy. The big money in America is with the middle class that's under pressure. There's between, depending on who you listen to, 22 to 25 trillion dollars in IRAs, 401ks, those kind of, that's where the big money is. And that's where these tax plans always end up going. So the sooner you can develop a tax strategy for investing and for retirement, to minimize it as best you can, maybe paying more now because we're in a lower tax world than going down the road to wait to pay, maybe the better off you'll be. Sometimes it makes our CPAs and tax people's heads explode and we say, well, I want to pay more tax now because I want to create some tax-free money down the road. But we try to work with everybody's advisor to do the best job we can to create a Roth conversion strategy, a Roth IRA strategy, place money somewhere where it's not going to be taxed as heavily as regular income or where we think taxes are going down the road. It seems to make sense to us.
Absolutely. And I think that it would pay off in long-term benefits to keep as much of our money as possible.
Yeah.
Not what we make, it's what we keep, and controlling that and optimizing every opportunity to have control and leverage and increase what we get to keep obviously is going to be beneficial. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Courser, his team there at Ron Courser and Associates, they help you plan for all of these aspects and making sure that they address all of these common reasons why we might risk going broke in retirement that we do want to avoid. And Ron Courser has the experience and has the team behind him with additional experience to help you plan for success in your financial future. Pick up the phone, give a call. 616-301-2594. That is 616-301-2594. 616-301-2594. Ron, this next one is a mistake that I think that we could easily fall into. I know that I've had this conversation with others, even in my young life here as a parent. I admittedly would do anything for my child, but I tell other people occasionally that at a certain point in time, doing the best thing for my kid is making sure that I am doing the best thing for myself in being self-sufficient so that I don't one day become dependent upon my child.
You know, and that's the key, isn't it? I think I'm a parent too. I mean, my parents helped out as much as they could. They were not wealthy people. But when I was going to college was a whole lot less expensive than it is today. And frankly, they actually taught me to read, write, and do arithmetic in college, which kind of is another subject for another time.
Yep.
But I always tell people to be very careful to take money out of your retirement plan, your 401k or IRAs, to help your children. It's okay to do a little bit, but keep in mind, the most help you can give your kids is not to become a burden on them. I haven't met anybody who says, you know what, I want to spend all my money in retirement so my kids can take care of me. I've never heard anybody say that. None of us want our kids to take care of us. But if we keep financial health as a priority along with physical health, make sure that we're okay. Two things happen. Number one, we minimize the chance that we'll become a burden to our children. But here's the other part. And maybe it hasn't happened to a lot of people, it happened to us. Sometimes our children make mistakes that don't turn out well. If we're healthy financially, medically, we can help our kids. And we've done that. Nancy and I have done that. But if we weren't physically and financially healthy, we couldn't give them help. So when it comes to our children, I know we all love our kids, at least most of our kids, we love our grandchildren. The most important thing is to make sure that you are financially stable and healthy so that you are the ultimate backstop if something catastrophic happens to one of your children. You're the backstop. They lose their job, they develop a sickness. I have a client out in Colorado. Her son got ALS. He was an athlete. He was wasn't a world-class biker, but he was up there with that. And after 3 years, he can't move or anything. She is financially healthy. She's able to help the family because she took the time to become financially healthy. Had she not done what she had done over the past years, she would not be that great a help to her daughter and her husband. That's why it's so important. It's not selfish. It really isn't. In retirement or getting into retirement, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're financially healthy. Make sure that if in a worst case scenario, you can step in to help your children out of a catastrophic kind of event. There's other ways to pay for college. There's other ways to go to get a job, but be healthy yourself so that you're the last hope that they have. And you're the last great hope because you really can help them financially.
Well, again, we want to make sure that we are doing all the things that we need to in order to achieve the vision that we have for our financial future and the comfort and the quality of life that we intend to have throughout retirement. And that takes identifying some of the problems that maybe others have had and figuring out how to address those so that we can avoid them. Ron Courser and his team there at Ron Courser and Associates, he is a certified financial planner. He's got that trained eye and the perspective to help you do just that. Spot and identify potential problems ahead of time and plan for how to solve and address them. Pick up the phone and give a call, 616-301-2594. That is 616-301-2594. 616-301-2594. 616-301-2594. Ron, I always appreciate the time, the conversation here on the program. I think you bring many aspects of planning to light and talk about them in a way that we can grasp and understand and really wrap our hands and our heads around, and bringing that benefit to the listeners across the Grand Rapids area and now worldwide with the podcast. Of course, online, on demand. Go to roncourser.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to previous editions of the program. Over the last several weeks, Ron, you've been offering some great reports and resources for folks on those podcasts with the countdown to retirement and just continuing on with that great information week in, week out here on the radio airwaves and the help and the assistance that you offer and provide to those in your office there at Ron Courser and Associates throughout Grand Rapids, savers and investors turning to you for that assistance. We appreciate the time and the perspective that you provide here on the program, Ron.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed this, and I hope there's somebody out there listening that says, you know what, he's touched on a couple things. I want to talk to him. Give us a call, 616-301-2594. It's our job to help people, and we'll help you.
Well, and we don't want to leave you hanging. If you want the rest of these 14 reasons why you might go broke in retirement, I'm sure Ron can email you out the link to the complete story, or tune in next week. We might cover a few more of them. But again, reviewing this week, the Kiplinger article of the 14 reasons why you might go broke in retirement. Of course, we want to avoid all of them. Ron Courser, certified financial planner, can help you out, can help you get that plan together to address these. Pick up the phone, give a call, 616-301-2594. We'll talk to you next time on Your Course to Retirement.
Tune in to Ron Courser's full radio program, A Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on WOOD, and visit roncourser.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.